It was a battle of the traded goaltenders. Mackenzie Blackwood now with the Avalanche, Alexandar Georgiev with the Sharks, and the Avs get the edge on their former goaltender. We'll break this one down and do a little more right after this here on Teal Town After Dark. Good evening, everyone. It is December 19th, 2024. The Sharks lose. They might be barking with no bite. I don't know. Sorry. Sharks lose 4-2 to the Colorado Avalanche, and we welcome you to this edition of Teal Town After Dark, your live interactive Sharks postgame. We do this after every game, so please be a part of the show. If you're watching us live right now, chat with us and fellow hockey fans all over the world and in Sharks territory on the YouTube page or the app. Of course, you can always follow us on social. Felix has been doing a heck of a great job gifting games on Twitter, Blue Sky, and Threads. And of course, you find everything at tealtownusa.com. And of course, if you want to support the pod, you can do so at Tealtown USA on the Venmo. Or if you are watching us live, you can hit us up on the Super Chat donation. So with that, I say good evening to you, Eric Landi. How's the weather down there? I'll be there in about 10 hours or 12 hours.
Weather has been foggy. Our friend Chris JWS tried to land here yesterday and could not. Had to go 3 times around the airport. So you might have some fog coming in depending on what time you're coming in.
Eric Landi with the live AccuWeather forecast. We'll have traffic on the 8s coming up shortly here. No, we're not going to do that. We don't want to torment ourselves here. No, we have a hockey game to torment ourselves about. The Sharks.
I think I might rather talk about the weather.
As I said at the top, the battle of the traded netminders, Georgiev against Blackwood. For the Sharks, they've lost the last 2 straight games at home within like the last 2 minutes or fewer than that. Brody, 2 or fewer. Yeah, Brody. Yeah, bud. Yeah, bud. Celebrini on a 4-game point streak entering this tonight. Colorado's been 5-5 in their last 10, but they're hanging on to the second wild card spot, losing to Kiefer Sherwood and the Vancouver Canucks the other night, 3-1.
Somebody say
Vancouver.
Sorry,
I was gonna say, should somebody would have said wood? Because
there's a lot of wood in Colorado now,
right? And
we ain't talking the forest.
Yeah, I mean,
apparently,
all right.
Apparently, as you
the
said,
wood joke, the wood joke has run its course, I think.
Hey, between that and notifications for wood and woodish gloves, I mean, this podcast, I don't know. We've derailed, beyond belief. But all right, getting into this game. Last time there was no Celebrini. They lost 4-1. The Sharks did to the Avalanche on October 20th. But getting into the game early and kind of a frustrating one at that. At least, the Sharks would take a penalty. You have Grundstrom for high sticking, which was obvious. I mean, there's nothing about that, but Colorado with their lethal power play. McCarr, McKinnon, Rantanen. This time, Valeri Nichushkin with his 9th of the year, Landi, and talk about a power play that's a machine.
That was scary. Like that team has a lot of firepower, and when it is on a roll, forget it. And tonight, that power play was just cooking for Colorado. And Nathan McKinnon's really special. I think he's got that vision. Similar. I think Macklin's similar. As far as like the builds go, I think he's more akin to Nathan McKinnon than he is to like a Connor Bedard or even McDavid. So I think that this was kind of just a little bit of a showcase of what Celebrini could be, as far as, what looking towards a full, complete player like Nathan MacKinnon, who has the skill, but is also very, very good, fundamentally 200-foot wise. So again, I mean, just it's a work of art, that power play. And when you put the Avalanche on the power play, even if it has been slumping, they've got so much firepower that they can come at you in all different ways. And I think it was just evident that you had a guy like Nichushkin, who is a tertiary piece and
Yeah.
still able to make that great of a play, and that, and able to capitalize on that goal. So again, the only thing I think of there for the Sharks is you just got to control your stick, and you can't take penalties when you've got that elite level of elite talent that's going to go up against you.
Yeah. No, I mean, you deal with a lot of their. I mean, Nikushin, who was who was out for a while, part of the PA's program. You look at Arturi Lekkinen and Samuel Girard. I mean, a lot of these guys, play a great support role to the likes of Makar and McKinnon, among others, and they just turn it on, no doubt about it. Here, that would be the only goal of the first period, to make it 1-0 Colorado. You'd have a little bunch of why-iatas and shoving and loving and cuddling and fighting at the end of the period between Wallman and Rantanen, which is kind of nice, even though that gave Colorado another power play. But the Sharks, they weathered the storm a little bit there, because they were getting outshot 7-1, 9-2. They ended up tying shots on goal at 10-10. They got outshot 12-10, but I'll be honest, Landy, those shots on goal weren't exactly high quality danger chances.
From the Sharks or the
Sharks?
Colorado? From the Sharks. Yeah. So I mean, look, the ice was lopsided the first 10 minutes, right? I mean, it was like I looked at the game, and I'm thinking, man, I'm looking up and I'm like, the Sharks haven't really had the puck all that much. And then I look at the shot counter, and it's 9-1. And I'm like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. They did execute a little bit better at the end of the first period, but again, it was kind of more run and gun and one and done. There wasn't a lot of sustained pressure. Like you had said, a lot of perimeter shots, nothing really too dangerous. So yeah, you give credit that they were able to execute a few more neutral zone passes so that they could get some long distance shots on goal, but nothing really too sustained. And I think, to me, it was a case of the team not starting on time. Honestly, I felt that the first 10 minutes from the team was flat, and you looked at Colorado, and I don't know if it was because Colorado was a little bit more desperate, but they just, the Sharks just seemed a little flat out in that first period. I'm not going to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah. And it was tough because they didn't have that killer instinct. Again, like you mentioned, they weren't getting, better scoring chances. They put 10 shots on goal. But the big story to me is the block shots. And I know this came up on the broadcast, and I think Shane had mentioned this as well. The Sharks blocked 10 shots in the first period. Colorado won. That should tell you how dangerous the Sharks were in the first period. However, things would flip in the second period, because the Sharks would get a pair of goals to get a 2-1 lead. First, Grunstrom atones for his penalty. He gets his first in Teal. Well, I guess Califin, essentially, from Ruda and Cunnin, because, of course, Ruda and Cunnin. And then William Eklund, I mean, that poor guy, he's had a struggle with goals. He's been an assist machine. It's like he's been sleeping over at Jumbo's house instead of celebrating. He got his 6 to give the Sharks the lead. And then, of course, that's CC and Cunnin. So Cunnin with 2 assists. Oh, thank you for reminding me to put the idiot. Come on, Eric, get it right. To put the scroll bar on. Jeez.
Well,
come on. All right. So, but and the pure grace that Eklund had beforehand with that potential high touch.
Yeah, no, I mean, Eklund just showed a lot of skill there, and again, good to see him get off the schneid. This is a kid who can score, when he wants to, and again, it's all about with Eklund. It's about the confidence, and it's about how mentally he is engaged in the game. Because I think the physical tools are there. I think he's got the skill set. You might want him to maybe add a couple extra pounds worth of muscle, and I think he's still filling out just a little bit. But we've seen marked strides since last season in his puck possession ability and able to protect the puck along the boards. I mean, tonight I saw him going up against Makar and I saw him going up against McKinnon, and he wasn't backing down. Yeah, he got the puck stripped from him, but at least it wasn't as evident as it was last year, where he was just bullied off the puck. This year, I feel like he's done a lot better of a job using his body to protect the puck and becoming a little bit more physically engaged. So, again, good to see Eki on the score sheet, and I hope that this again can drive him on a little bit of a run here and get him a little warm as far as streaks go, because goal scoring in this league is notoriously streaky. And I'd love to see him get to like the 25 goal mark this season. I know we're starting to run out of run rate here, but at least get the 20 goals. That would be good.
20 would be nice. I think 25 might be stretching just a little bit there, but but I would love for Eklund to get going on things. It doesn't help that he's on the third line though, but I digress. Moving on to the third period, because the third period seems to be a problem, and the Sharks unfortunately have made some history tonight. We'll get to that in a sec, but Sharks would take another penalty here. They would have Barclay Goodrow get a holding call on Cale Makar, and I know Drew was kind of a little hesitant on calling it holding, but he definitely held on to the best defenseman in the NHL, and that's going to get an arm raised, no problem whatsoever. And Rantanen again from McKinnon and Makar again. If you have those guys along with the guy that we're going to talk about shortly in your fantasy league, you're doing good tonight. But Rantanen, 19th of his season to tie things up, and you definitely could feel an avalanche coming. Pardon the pun. In this third period, unfortunately.
What's unfortunate? Those puns.
Shut up.
Yeah. I mean, look, we talked about it at the beginning of the show. When you start messing with fire on that power play, it's going to be tough climbing yourself out of it. And again, they just flipped the switch, and you see why you don't want to face this team in the first round. I know they started off really slow, and you kind of felt like there was a lot left on the table as far as the efforts and things, but they are dangerous, man. They're like one of those wounded animals that's only slightly wounded and kind of baiting you, because again, when they turn it on, there is not much like it in the NHL. I think them and Edmonton are the two funnest to watch when they flip that switch as far as just offense and the creativity in the offensive zone. And it's a handful. And the defense, Cody Ceci, Wallman got victimized a couple of times tonight. In the chat, they've been discussing Will Smith. He had a little bit of a rough game, although Makar and McKinnon can make anybody look foolish and have a rough game. But yeah, Smith, that execution and the decision making still needs to be worked on a little bit more. I liked his second period, but I think his third period, is where I was like, I don't know, man. It seems like you're trying to force play a little bit, and not letting the play come to you. And when he lets the play come to him and he lets the game slow down for him, He's a lot more effective of a player, but it seems like when he rushes himself, he doesn't think the first pass through as well. I don't feel like he makes as definitive of a pass if he doesn't take the extra second. So again, I think these are things that you can work on. And I think we've all kind of said, look, this year the team is probably not going to be as successful on the ice as it, I don't know that it should be, but I think it's kind of right around schedule. But I think there were some that was like, okay, well, once we get a first overall pick, everything's going to get better, and the immediate uptick is going to come. And I think it is, and there's certainly the broadcast had talked a little bit about it. You can see that there's something being built here, but I think there's still some fundamentals that the team needs to really work on, and I think tonight showed the defensive zone. Yeah,
big time.
So.
Jerry F with the $2 super chat. Good to see you, my friend. I will be in your area tomorrow, and only tomorrow. Losing is frustrating, but Sharks are better than 23-24. Yes, because
this team is fun to watch again. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, right? I mean, that's the biggest thing is last season, me and Puck Guy, I don't know how many times we came on to the show going, what are we going to talk about? There's nothing to talk about. This is boring. This is uninspired. The team looked zombified outside of Zetterlund and Eklund.
Pretty much.
And this team, yeah, it makes mistakes. Yeah, it has some real deficiencies in the defensive zone. But man, when they put together a good couple of sequences, they're fun to watch.
Oh yeah.
And every time Celebrini picks up the puck, it's just like, what is he going to do next with it? He's creative. And it's just fun to watch when he gets the puck. So again, a big turnaround since last season, and they're building towards something. And I think they're right around where they should be.
Yeah.
But it was good to see that they hung with the Avalanche a little bit tonight through two periods, and kind of showed the blueprint of how you can play through two periods, and just got to work on tightening up the defensive zone in the third.
Yep. I completely agree with everything you said. Just got to keep at it. You got to stay hungry out there. I mean, we've seen it a few times. I remember the LA game where they had like a 5-goal third period, but at the same time, you look at opening night where they're up 4-1 on St. Louis and it slowly goes away. But speaking of which, it's unfortunate that we have to mention, like a Tiger mentioned it was via Dan Rusanowski. The San Jose Sharks are the first team in NHL history to lose 3 in a row at home while leading in the third period. I would have thought this would have been done back in the Cow Palace days, to be quite honest.
Yeah, the Cow Palace days, or even last year, to be quite honest, because the home record was horrible last year.
Right.
So yeah, but again, I think it's indicative of at least they had a lead, right? I mean, last year we weren't talking about very many times they had a lead.
What was the lead last year? Let's be honest.
Yeah. So again, baby steps. It's pointing the ship in the right direction.
Exactly.
And
so
then
we'll get there.
Yeah, and we'll get there. And again, I think you look at the defensive prospects. You've got a young Luka Madulin, just starting out. I mean, Henry Thrun's a young kid. Liljegren is still pretty young.
25,
This blue line, I mean, Wallman, I mean, so this blue line has pieces, but they're all young pieces, and young defensemen make mistakes. Young defensemen make big mistakes in their own zone. You don't want to see Cody Ceci making that big of a mistake in his own zone, but he does that too.
But and the frustration, I was hearing this also in the Discord tonight, is they're youngsters, there's everything. Well, look who took a few penalties tonight. Grundstrom, I mean, Barclay Goodrow took the one in the third period. Yes, Celebrini took a hooking call, and those need to be worked out. the stick infractions, high sticking, hooking, holding, and then you have the holding call on Makar, which you get near Makar or McKinnon, you're asking
That's
for
just being
trouble.
lazy.
Yeah,
That's not moving your feet, right?
that's
Um,
that's where you need to have the hunger, the passion come out. Stay chomping. I guess you could say. Sharks, you could probably steal that one too if you want to. Go right ahead. Anywho, let's get to some of the comments from the chat earlier. Obviously, friend of the show, one of our OG favorites, Brody Brazil, announced that he's going to work with the Sharks. Just still watch the YouTube channel, please. Please, I just beg you, please. So I'll take that as a W. Jimmy Chomps Teal, appreciate you on that. King BDC, it seems like everyone forgets we're supposed to be the worst team in the league, but we are far from better than last year, still getting a top pick. It's a rebuild, and the there's that, Landy, but there's also at the same time where Big Bird comes in, is like, is it a rebuild or a tank? I'm tired of losing. And that's the tough part with it right now. I think everybody's like, we got Celebrini, we have Smith, they're being competitive, but at the same time, it's like, okay, this 3-game homestand definitely was frustrating indeed. In that sense of, yeah, you want to show something, but at the same time, you're still learning.
and look at the head coach. I mean, this is a first time head coach as far as the NHL goes, so there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve there too. Um, I I reserve the right to make any type of systems analysis until I see at least a full season worth of games. Um, but I can tell you that I find the team is far less apt to collapse in their own zone at the first sign of trouble than they were last season. Last season, it seemed like they went to the full prevent collapse very quickly once a team entered into their zone. This year, I've seen the defensemen, challenge at the blue line a little bit more, step up into more physical, um, more physical interactions at the blue line instead of allowing the opposing team to gain the blue line, fairly unopposed. And I think that they've really tried to direct a lot of incoming teams to the boards more instead of allowing a clear lane through the slot. I mean, yeah, they give up odd man chances, and I think that that's still a work in progress, and that's still similar to last season. And again, I think that that's a hallmark of having a young defense core who want to step up a little bit more rather than maybe play a little bit more of a sound defensive position. But as a young defenseman, I would rather them be a little bit more aggressive and try to have to rein them in than to, have to tell them to be more definitive. I mean, what do they say? It's hard to paint or what is it? It's hard to paint stripes on a pussycat. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to um
Come up with analogies, apparently. No, I'm kidding.
yeah, I guess.
No, but I mean, I get what you're trying to say here.
You'd rather
It's
tame a tiger than have to, force it to be aggressive.
right. No, I get that in that sense. No, but it's gonna be tough. You're gonna have these learning curves, and yeah, I get the frustration too. It's tough because you have like Michael Johnston saying 2-18 in the last 20 against the Avs, but had a chance to win that one. Yeah, then you have that, but you also have sadly winning only hurts us in the long run. I'm okay with this showing improvement, but not making the playoffs anyways. So you might as well tank. If anything, he was thinking playoffs this year. I don't think it's a little far fetched. Would you want them to be in playoff contention late in the year? Yes, of course. It'd be great to have them compete or stay in it. You don't want to be eliminated by now, which I think the Sharks already were. Um, at least psychologically, at this time of the year. So it'll be time for it. King BDC again. We have the best prospect pool in the NHL. If we get another top pick, it's only a matter of time before we are legit again. And
I think we have the best prospect pool in the NHL now.
Yeah.
I mean, whose is better? I mean, I don't know. I mean, they've spent the last 2.5 years, 3 years stockpiling. And you don't want to be Buffalo is the cautionary tale that I will put out there. There's a very fine balance between rebuilding and knowing when you get to the point of critical mass or you're getting there. And you can, take that next step. But I don't know, man, since Macklin's come on the scene, doesn't it just feel like it's different? Like, doesn't it feel like I look back at Crosby's first year and I look back at McDavid's first year and I look back at McKinnon's first year. I think he's more akin to McKinnon. But you see a future leader and you see a guy that can put it all together as an 18-year-old. And I don't think the team has necessarily had that complete package player. Jumbo was, exceptional in a lot of respects, but there were still parts of his game that you wish might be a little bit different. I'm trying to think who is the next biggest superstar after Jumbo that we've had. And Patty was a star, but was he a superstar? I don't know, just some debate there. But I don't think that the team basically just saying, I don't think that the team has had a player like this. And I think you look at that at Macklin specifically and you go, that's a guy you can build around for a long time.
Oh, for sure.
And he's got pedigree. And doesn't like to lose. So I'm excited for the future. And, I think that they've got a good mix right now. Add a couple of pieces through draft, and I think you'll start to really hit the critical mass portion.
Yeah. Felix, good evening to you, sir. Thanks for gifting tonight. Excellent job. As always, Macklin has breathed badly needed fresh air into this franchise. I completely agree on that. I think it helps them have a draw, and that's a big thing. And like Rock and Jaws is saying, there is a difference if we were not staying in these games. The consistent losing in games where we are winning is the pill that's hard to swallow. Yeah. I mean, it's
but like last year we weren't even
adjusted a little bit.
Yeah, but last year we weren't even in games, right?
Right.
So that in itself is a market improvement, right? I mean, last year it was a chore to watch games. This year, yeah, they lose, but it's kind of fun. I think it's kind of fun to watch team, and I've enjoyed this season so far. And I think again, as long as you're building in the right direction and the team's not stagnating, I think we're in the right direction. I think Greer has done. If I had to grade him as a GM at this point in time, I'm going to say A-. There's a couple of things that I question. I question around the margins with Hurdle a little bit. Some of the returns on Burns and other. But for the most part, I've been pleased. I've been pleasantly surprised at how well he's done. And really, I think he set the franchise up to be competitive in the next couple of years. And I think the franchise will be competitive for a long stretch again. I think we'll be in it for a good 8 or 9 year block of consistent playoffs again.
I mean, the thing is that it was a salary dump to get Burns out of here. In the same thing with Carlson, you're going to take an L on those big time. The Hurdle one still pisses me off, and I'll never forget that trade that time when it was me and Jules for the trade deadline show, and that went down. Especially when you're the thing that if anything that gets me with my career, the thing that gets me is the additional picks that you're having to throw in. Like the pick with Georgiev and Blackwood, or the third round picks with the hurdle trade. Uh,
Yeah, that was weird. That to me
it's
didn't understand that.
so, which that's frustrating to take. I get, so continue on with it here. Michael Johnston, a good point here as well. Sharks falling on that third power play with a chance to go up by 2 was the biggest moment in the game. Yeah, and that's a big thing. Special teams played a big time tonight. Prior to the 2 late goals, from Kiviranta to close this game out, within 3 minutes of each other. The Sharks had a chance to get this thing going, and it's not like they weren't getting any calls. I mean, they got Parker Kelly holding the stick on Celebrini, Turi Lekkonen, holding on Macklin Celebrini, Nikushkin tripping up Wenberg. They had their chances there, and that's one thing that they have to take advantage of, is to keep chomping and keep going after and make sure your opponent feels the pain.
I mean, I look at that last power play in the third period, puck guy, and I think to myself, where's the traffic in front of the net?
Yeah.
And I think that there's very, very good creativity with Macklin and with Eklund, and Zetterlund together. But if you're going to have a plugger or like a Barclay Goodrow or someone, or somebody like that on that top power play unit, at least park yourself in the net. I mean, if you're going to be a grinder or going to be used down low as as a decoy or what have you, commit to that. Commit to that role. Don't try to play a more finesse game than what is required of you, because the skill is already out there, right? I mean, with the other players there, and so I think that it's missing a small element still, on the power play, and I think it's going to take somebody to really kind of step up and be like, okay, I'm gonna go out and kind of sacrifice the body a little bit in front of the net, get in front of the goaltender's eyes, and not be afraid to get hit with a Wallman, with friendly fire, or a
Right.
Celebrini one timer, because those two, man, you have those two teeing off to each other, and that could be really fun. I mean, you
Oh
have
yeah.
you have Celebrini parked out in the at the top of the face-off dot, and you have Wallman sitting at the point, and you get Eklund and Zetterlund to just feed the puck back to those two and just let them shoot it off like a shooting gallery.
Yeah, it's a matter of time, and yeah, I see the comments in there. I mean, it's just like
Clint,
Jumbo,
yeah.
Jumbo talking about she, but it's like, the thing is, Jumbo's power plays usually they perimeter passed around to Jumbo and to try to have him find somebody, and if it didn't happen, they did the whole thing again. So it's frustrating indeed, in that sense. So Felix,
Yeah,
oh, go ahead.
Oh,
Sorry.
I was gonna say Big Bird. I mean, like he brings up Klim Kostin. That's kind of element that's missing on that number one unit, right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I know
Something
Big
like
Bird.
that.
I think Clean was out there, but I think he was in a non-contact jersey. I know he's still on IR, so hopefully he'll play in this upcoming road trip before Christmas, or maybe just shut it down until next Friday when they're back home for that back-to-back.
My guess is they
Homes
would
with
shut
them.
him down. I think why, give him that extra time. why rush him back? If you've got the talent to absorb a little bit more, is how I feel, anyways.
Yeah. We are getting some comments from the locker rooms. I'll give some credit to William Espy of San Jose Hockey Now for talking to Blackwood in the scrum after the game. For Blackwood, on the ovation he received from the crowd, it's great. I mean, I really enjoyed my time here. I made a lot of great friends and always thankful for it. On Celebrini, he's a hell of a player. He's only 18. And I think you can see watching the game that you give him a few years, he's one of the best guys in this league. So playing against him, he's dangerous. He's got a great shot, and he's going to be someone that you guys have to watch out for. I mean, you got to see a little bit of it. And let's be honest, Blackwood wasn't here too long. And I know we've touched on it, a number of times since the trade went down. But to turn a 6th round pick into a 2nd and potentially 4th, depending on how he plays, kudos to him showing his way around to get things done, to make himself better and in some sense to make the Sharks a little bit better.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the SGA Sports Talk, thank you for the super chat. Thought on Georgiev's performance tonight. We'll get there. We'll talk about the
Give us a sec, bud.
after the Blackwood comments. But look, I think the team did right on him. They sent him to a place that he wanted to go. Colorado was a childhood favorite team of his. So you check that box. Colorado's a hell of a place to play as far as being a contender goes. And it's not a bad place to live. So, there are definitely way worse places to be than Colorado. And you look at that team now, and if they don't make a long run, I think you'll say it's a wasted effort this year because they got the horses, and now they got a goaltender who can lead them to the playoffs, I think. And I hope they do some damage, and I hope they take out Edmonton.
It's kind of funny how Georgiev was playing in the All-Star game earlier this year, and his game just went to absolute pupito. And we'll get back to the super chat from SGA Sports Talk channel. Your thoughts on him tonight? I thought he was good for 40 minutes, but then it kind of fell apart in the third.
I agree. I agree with you there, Puck Guy. And this to me is like a confidence that's a confidence indicator to me that he's given up a lot of goals late. You looked at the last 2 goals, and he was a little bit far back in his crease, wasn't as aggressive on the play and being a little bit further up in the blue crease. And it was something that the broadcast had touched on last game, was that Mark Spear was working on
Thomas Spear.
Sorry. I was thinking about the reporter from San Jose Hockey Now. But Thomas was, that was one of the specific things he was working on, was getting him and his positioning and the aggressiveness back in Georgiev's game. Because, we've seen what he can do. He's a big guy, and he's got the tools physically to be an imposing goaltender. So you hope that being surrounded by his fellow countrymen, I mean, he's got 3 Russian goaltenders with him. He's got Nabokov. He's got, guys that can make him feel more comfortable. And, you just try to give him the best situation that you can and see what he can do, because, he's a free agent come summer. And I mean, we all know where this team is going and who's going to be the heir in the net. He's sitting up, backing up Georgiev right now. And I think that we might, next, in this coming off season, they might just give him this crease full time, ask her off the crease full time. So, again, I would love to see Georgiev get his game back and us be able to flip him for something if we could. Will that happen? I don't know, man. His game has really dropped off, and
we'll
very
see
precipitously.
We'll see. I mean, it's it's one of those things where if you get on a hot streak, look at Mackenzie Blackwood. Look what he was able to do. If he can get
Yep.
his game turned around, he can be maybe available. Right now, I think you're going to stick with him because of the injury to Vitek Vanacek taking that puck. To me, the replay showed it like he took a puck to the face. I hope he's okay, but the sense that how Askarov was immediately called up, and they weren't like, we're not sure. I mean, that in the long run, I think tells you how serious it could be. So hopefully he's okay. Hopefully nothing got broken or anything in that sense, or he just took a puck to the nose or whatnot. But you hope to be tough. And Jesse, making a point too. It took the Sharks 2 years to get Blackwood to be that sellable. Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes on that. Did I have anything else I wanted to add here? Oh yes. Felix was saying Sharks need to be like the Leafs and have the passion. Okay, not the passion to collapse in the playoffs. We need to get there first before we even talk about the passion for first round exits. Sorry, I know.
Yeah, but again, I think you got to walk, or you got to crawl before you can walk, and you got to walk before you can run. And to me, the season is a win if they had more wins than they did last year, and that they were able to get through with Celebrini being intact, injury free. And if those two things are completed, I would consider this season a win in my book.
Yeah.
No. And then you see whatever as far as the lottery ticket goes with this year's first round pick. And you look forward to a kid in Sam Dickinson who's going to be a stud.
Yeah.
On that blue line. He might just step up into the NHL next year.
Yeah. I mean, you look at Dickinson, who, if he's not on Canada's World Juniors team, will be shocked. You look at Quentin Musty, who should be on USA's World Juniors team if it weren't for his injury. You look at Kasper Halttunen, who I think can be that stud that you were talking about, parking himself in front of that. Although he's got that one-timer setup like Stamkos and Ovechkin that can be something on the power play. We'll see. But hashtag future is Teal. Do we need to say more?
Well, and that's why I was saying, like, who I mean, you look at the teams in the NHL. I mean, whose prospect pool has that many like blue chippers like that? I don't know that there's a deeper pool of prospects right now.
Yeah. It'll be quite interesting to see where this team is in a couple of years of time. In the meanwhile, we got to get through the pain, and it's tough. Brian Bishop mentioning the next 10 games looks like a tough stretch. Like I said, we remember when we were getting excited and we were getting called out for, why are you guys getting all excited? We're taking everything. This is why. Here are the next 10 games for the San Jose Sharks. You ready?
Let's list them off.
Okay. Saturday afternoon in Edmonton. And then Monday the 23rd against the Canucks. And then they'll get the Christmas Boxing Day break. I wish you guys played on my birthday still. But then you get the back-to-back home games against Vegas, Calgary. You then have, and if I'm not mistaken, Landy, do me a favor. Check this out. See what time the Winter Classic is. And I know it's on New Year's Eve this year, but I have a feeling the Sharks are playing
2 p.m. Pacific
2 p.m.
time.
So once the Winter Classic is over, the Sharks will be playing the Flyers at 5 o'clock on New Year's Eve. First time in a long time I've seen
home.
At home. So
yeah, I don't know the last time we had a New Year's Eve at home.
Yeah, it's been forever. I remember the nightmares like Detroit and
Dallas, right?
Dallas,
Dallas New Year's.
There was a Calgary. I think we lost 8-4 where Couture's, spewing, crap off the bench. But I mean, then you have January where you have Tampa, then you have New Jersey, and then Vegas comes back to town, and then the rematch with Utah, which there's going to be some retribution. That in there. Then you have Minnesota again at home, and then you go out and I know that's not exactly the toughest stretch, but at Detroit, they're desperate. Columbus is hanging in there. You go to the Islanders, who knows what they're going to be by the time we get to the middle of January. Then Boston, and then a home and home at Nashville. Then it gets lighter. But I mean, it's you're going to go through a gauntlet, and there's going to be pain. It might be October pain. So we'll see how it goes. Brian, shout out to you for mentioning that to us. Appreciate that on there.
Yeah, and if they can go 500, that would be amazing. In this next stretch of 10, if they can get 5 wins out of it, I would be really impressed with that. I think they might have a chance against Vancouver. They're kind of inconsistent to me. And
Did somebody say
Vancouver? No, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have said that. God, I hate your house.
Some more quotes coming from the locker room from Eklund on did it feel good to score against Blackwood? Yeah, it did. It did. I was letting him know about it too. It was fun. You talk about a guy who needed that goal, which was nice to see. So, Cunnin on how happy the Sharks were to see Grunstrom score. Absolutely. He's been working hard. The boys love him in here. That's great for him. And on Kivirante's game winner, the Will Smith turnover that led to it, tied the game late, end of a power play, and an example where Smith needs to learn to manage the puck better in that situation. Warsawski said, yeah. Like, well, let's be honest here. I think Celebrini also had a few other turnovers there as well. So we'll see. How much you want to bet there's a what is it, development day coming soon. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Especially on the road. We'll see how that goes. And speaking of that, we have an afternoon delight on Saturday. Sharks and Oilers at 1 p.m. And then they'll close out their pre-Christmas schedule, taking on the Canucks in British Columbia. See, that's how you do it. On Monday night. So we'll see there. Oh, and if y'all are into other stuff earlier, the Minnesota Frost one. Yes. Have you been able to watch any of the PWHL, Landy?
I have not really. But then again, I haven't really had the time. I barely.
How
had the
dare
time
you?
No, well, there's a thing called a job, and they kind of send me places, and I got to do things.
Yeah,
for it, so.
This guy over here, he's gone to all parts of Canada. What is it? Japan? You were in?
Yep. Japan.
Pissing me off at every hockey city he's been going to. It's like, really, you can't do the show for the first month because you're going to Winnipeg or Calgary or that big fancy town.
I was on for the first game of the season.
You know what I mean, though. But yeah, no, I get you.
And I was on vacation in Alabama, which is not Japan. But anyways,
no, it's not. Okay. So. Will the San Francisco ever get a PWHL team? If they do, I would think they're going to put them at Texas Arena in San Jose. I would think it's going to be that. So, 5-2 Frost win over the Toronto Scepters tonight, or the Toronto Swifts, as I like to call them, because of their uniform. So, all right. So let's go to bed.
Toronto
because
Swifts.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Have you seen their jerseys? They literally look like the cheerleader uniform from Taylor Swift. Or yeah. So 5-2 win, Minnesota Frost over the Ottawa Charge, which still looks like Calgary Flames to me, but I digress. All right. So with that, I need to go to bed. In case you missed anything or you want to watch this again, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be in this mean. Check us out on tealtownusa.com or wherever you get your podcasts. If you're looking for the audio only, you can find us at Apple, YouTube Music, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeart, Odyssey, you name it, you love it. Of course, if you're watching us on YouTube, and if you're watching us on the replay, please leave a comment down below on what you thought of tonight's game and the performance by the team. Of course, leave a like on the way out the door, please. It really does help us out. We need to get back into that algorithm, for sure. And of course, subscribe. That definitely helps us out in the long run. So, good sir, what are you laughing about? What
The puns. The puns. The puns. The puns.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
No,
I have to make up, for Jules not being here somehow. She gets the prediction score right and everything, and the gal wants to do the show on her birthday, which I don't get, but whatever. Okay. Anyways, Landi,
God bless her for it.
Landi, I believe this is your last show before the holiday break. So, happy holidays to you, my good friend. Your final thoughts on this evening?
Yeah, final thoughts in the evening. It was good to see the team hang around with Colorado. You would have liked to see them get the win, but again, good to see them competitive at least. And you can see that they're starting to build towards something. And I'm excited to see what comes next for the team. As far as where you can find me and where I am located, you can use my first name Erik, last name Landi across all the social media garbage. I'm kind of like Oscar the Grouch that way. I kind of live in a garbage can of social media. But happy holidays to everyone. I hope that you have a lovely holiday coming up, whatever holiday that you end up celebrating during this winterous festivus time. And I hope that it's filled with merriment, with family, friends, all of those good things that make you happy, and some Sharks wins, hopefully.
Completely agree, good sir. I'm at Puck Guy 14 on practically everywhere, including Blue Sky. We will be back with you Saturday afternoon following Sharks and Oilers. That is a 1 p.m. start here on the West Coast, so be on the lookout for that. We'll be on right after the game is over. So for the guy who also the guy who spells his name the right, I switched around. Okay, yeah, that. Appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks for watching, and until then, keep it real, keep it teal, keep it real teal. Have a great night, everyone. Good night.